What's up, guys, and welcome to the first game of EU Open Division 2019. It is the first season of that one. I am Trinok. With me is Panda and Beatdown. How you guys doing?
Doing pretty good, man. Always looking forward to some Tier 3 Overwatch, Open Division, the EU region. It's always a spectacle to watch.
Yeah, I'm doing
That
well.
is true. Sorry, Pan. Sorry, Beat.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, I'm feeling it too. Always excited. We have a good matchup today too.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a fantastic matchup. It is Eminence Esports, the guys who finished 7th last season, taking on a new team called the Rejects. Why don't you just break it down for us, Beat?
Yeah, just a little bit on Rejects here. Like you said, new team, but not exactly new players. You know, a lot of these guys have team experience. The only real question mark for me is gonna be, what was his name? Black Frost. You know, this is his first time in an actual team environment. He is on the main roster, so, you know, the thing with the GOATS comp that's so strong nowadays, the synergy is very important. And although I do believe Rejects have a good chance here against Eminence, that's the only factor that makes me think maybe they might have a little struggle, but who knows? Hopefully they've scrimmaged really hard.
Yeah, so, I mean, both of these teams haven't really lost a game, so, you know, they've guaranteed that playoff spot. And, Panda, I believe you wanna delve into that a bit more.
Yeah, when you're going down the Swiss format, the way that Open Division is settling here, you're going to be facing teams around the same caliber at you, more or less, when it comes down to wins and losses, not just map differential. That'll play into when we go down to the tiebreakers or towards the playoffs when we need to figure out our seedings. But the way that it ends up playing out now with these teams being undefeated, I mean, we're sitting at a whopping 6-0. Typically, when it comes down to Open Division, when you're reaching down to the nitty-gritty, you typically only want to have about 2 losses. So these teams do have a bit of a buffer, if you will, to win this match or to lose this match. But at the end of the day, you don't want to lose. You want to go into this into Open Division playoffs with the highest seed possible. You want to really show them what you got. You don't want to be pulling out the old true sandbag and going into the playoffs, because you really want to be showing every team what you have. There's a lot of opportunities here for Open Division teams. I mean, we've seen even last season of Open Division EU that a lot of members will get picked up by contenders teams, trials teams. That is right around the corner. I mean, EU Grand Finals for contenders just ended, so you better believe that some of them are probably watching. More or less, they're probably going to be watching these teams that are undefeated. They're probably thinking to themselves, much like us, how did they get here? Why are they undefeated? And by God, how good is this GOATS composition? Because both of these teams are listed as that. In Eminence and Rejects, they have made it there playing this GOATS composition. But I would definitely say that you can't stumble going forward off of here. You definitely want to put your best foot forward and show the enemy team everything that you got.
So are you predicting like a really close game here? What are your guys' predictions for this?
I want to believe that it's going to be a close game for sure. I mean, but this is Open Division, right? I mean, on Reject's side, you do have a few members that have played a few Open Divisions. They have a few members that this is their first Open Division, like Beatdown was saying. So you're going against a team of Eminence Esports that has previously placed 7th, right? So you're going against an experienced team that has been playing Open Division for a couple seasons now, but Rejects have made it here. I would say on paper this is going to be a close game, but I think Eminence are probably going to run away with this.
Do you have anything to say to that?
I do. I have a rebuttal. I'm actually going to give it to Rejects, although you make some good points, Panda, about how, you know, seasoned experience, and there is some new blood here on the Rejects. I'm going to still give it to that young blood, because in general, most of this team here do have team experience. So I'm going to say that I think that, especially in some key roles, that they have some really good players. So I'm betting that they could actually get a close game, but take this one over Eminence.
All right, so
yeah,
a little bit of conflict on the desk here.
That's right.
Beatdown going for Rejects. Panda saying Eminence are just going to completely run away with this. Going into our first map, Busan, both these teams look like they love playing that GOATS comp. Panda, how do you approach this if you know your opponents are a GOATS team and you're a GOATS team?
It's kind of how every team's been scrimming these days, right? I mean, you almost are expecting that a team's going to be running GOATS at some point in a match. It's when they don't is when everything starts to get a little bit topsy-turvy, and then you see the GOATS matchup being a little bit straight out. But I think going into Busan here, Trinok, I think the most important part is how the rotation of stages happen, right? Where's Mecha Base going to be playing around? Are we going to end up seeing that Mei GOATS composition where they replace the Diva with the Mei? It's very powerful. You got those 3 walls that go up and down on Mecha Base as it is. But then when you incorporate that ice wall at the top left choke or the high ground of Mecha Base is where things start to get a little bit crazy. But the other maps of Sanctuary and Downtown are very good to centric map. But don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, this is the live patch. So when we go to Downtown, it is a little bit more of a high ground oriented map, a little bit less accessible to those shield tanks like Reinhardt and Zarya. So you almost want to hope, much like me, that we'll probably see some Ashe play coming out from one of these teams.
That would be interesting to see the Ashe play. Pete, sorry, you go for that.
No, that's cool. Yeah. I just to your point, Trinok, about teams loving to run the goats. Is it really love or is it Stockholm syndrome? I'm just gonna leave that for your thoughts only. But
could be both.
Yeah, it really could be. Although we are on live patch, I think especially at this point in Open Division, when teams want to lock in their spot in the playoffs, they're 6-2. You have a good chance, but still, even with records like them, you don't want to leave it up to things like map differential or chance. Maybe these map losses are what boot them out. So I'm betting teams are still gonna play it safe. Not much experimentation. Because of the high ground in the Mecha Base and because of the high ground in the Sanctuary, I'm expecting a little variation in the Goats comp, but still Goats all the same, where you run the Winston instead of the Reinhardt. A little bit more mobility and a lot more dive pressure.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because when you bring in the Winston and you start playing around with the Goats composition is when things start to get a little bit more interesting, right? When you replace the Winston with the Reinhardt, you get that backline pressure. When you replace the Diva, you give up the opportunity to eat the Graviton surges, but this is a live patch like we've been almost playing a broken record at this point. We want to see that diversity. We want to see these teams devolve a little bit further from the Goats composition.
Rejects do have that substitution of Rady, who they claim is a top EU May. Could we see them bring him in some way through this game if they realize that bashing their heads against Goats or that trying to just change up the Goats with what they have is not working out too well?
I would definitely say so, right? May is definitely a good hero against the Goats composition. It's always a good trump card in your back pocket.
Beat, final thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely agree. May is a very useful hero. Like Panda said before, on the Mecha Base, there will be a lot of use there. And who knows, if the team's good enough, you could see it on any map.
Cool. Well, let's see what happens as we go through to our wonderful casters of Mr. Spaceman and the Zark.
Thanks, Trinok. Thanks, guys. That's excellent first test there. Now, so we've got Rejects versus Eminence Esports, right? Both teams undefeated, both looking to continue their undefeated record here. We're going to be going to Busan. It's going to be a control map. We might see some goats here. Is there anything you expect to see from either of these teams just to give them the advantage?
Like you said, Busan, it is a goats sort of favored map, but I'm actually a little surprised that just looking at what the teams are running for their lineups, not necessarily surprised. So Ratty for I believe it was Rejects. They are a top tier May player, but they're not actually in the lineup. And I think that with Busan, since it is a tank heavy map, you can sometimes use those May walls to really trip up your team, but they're not in the lineup right now, so I'm a little surprised by that. But I think that with Busan, because we haven't seen a lot of pro play on this particular map just yet, it's going to be an opportunity for teams to get a little creative and maybe throw some curveballs.
Yeah, but opportunity for both teams to throw some curveballs here on this first map and establish their dominance. It looks like we're going to be going to Shrine first. So we've seen a lot of goats play on this map, and perhaps the May pick not so important on this because there's multiple routes you could go. I suspect we're going to be seeing both teams here running some sort of variation of goats, but it's going to be interesting to see which variation they go for.
Right, and so, Shrine, the point is a lot smaller, so you have to really, use the space to your advantage, and it's all about how the teams approach the point. Do you, wait off to the side until the point actually unlocks to try and take up that space? Do you wait for your team to be out of position and focus somebody down? It's going to be really interesting to see how these teams approach it. I'm really excited.
Rejects locking in a few heroes here. Obviously 20 seconds or so to go, so there might be some changes, but it does look like they're going to be going with Zen Goats here. So Zen, with those discords, able to get that extra bit of damage out onto the enemy Reinhardt, looking to perhaps wrap up those fights quickly. But on the opposite team here, we've got a Winston from Vestola.
It looks like, yeah, things are just really changing all over the place. And it looks like Eminence Esports are actually going with a completely different composition. They're running triple DPS. So Vestal is going to be running that Ashe, so it's going to be exciting to see that. But keep your eyes on Dio. They are running the Pharah that can sometimes be really effective against these tank-heavy compositions like Rejects are electing to run. So it's going to be up to Tricky to really be focusing them with their Matrix, making sure that Dio isn't getting that percentage. And it looks like already Rejects are going back to spawn to change.
I like this. I like this early. Go back to spawn. Okay, we're going to get the point up here, but we're going to have the composition to be able to deal with this triple DPS lineup of Eminence here, who have already taken the point.
Yeah, they've already taken the point. We already see that Dio has gotten a little bit of percentage as well. But Rejects getting an early pick onto Vortex.
Yeah, it is 6v5, and this might be the opportunity they need. They are pushing into the point here. Rejects managed to just unable to flip the point as Dakotas does get onto the point there, but he is punished for that. And looks like Eminence are going to go back to spawn here. And what an excellent first fight there from Rejects.
Rejects really making good use of Sombra there. They got a nice little hack onto the Hammond there, and then everyone focused them down. So really nice response to what Eminence Esports are running. And now we see the flip from Eminence Esports onto the Ghost composition. So some mind games going on here to start off this map.
Oh, I love this. It's like a game of three-dimensional chess, and Black Frost looking to get some early hacks, perhaps to wrap up this fight early as the rest of Eminence here pushing onto the point, looking to brawl it out here, get a few picks, use those cooldowns wisely. Rejects there, Lusner early on, so it will be a 5v6 with the advantage, looking to press that advantage, get another pick. However, we do see the coalescence now coming out from Henki, trying to keep the rest of his team alive, just trying to stall this up, get that percentage ticking up, so they're closer to winning that match. The point does flip here, but they did get to 50%.
And again, the mind games are really coming into play here. We're seeing Rejects swapping their composition again. They are going to keep Black Frost on the Sombra to use that EMP, no doubt, in this next fight, as they do have Tricky's bomb. So keep your eyes. That's a really big combo for Rejects in their back pocket.
We see the EMP coming out, the whole of Eminence hacked there. We see Rejects pouncing in, picking up Dakotas early. They're looking for some more picks here, but they have lost Ingemar early on in this fight. Transcendence now coming out from Ruby, keeping his team alive. There's the bomb from Tricky we were talking about. Does find Vestola before Vestola get back in his mech. Henki gets a pick as well, though. So both teams picks it. Oh my gosh, that hammer there. Fantastic from Dakotas. The rest of his team pushing forward, getting those kills, and they're going to be able to hold on to this point.
Really nice stuff from Eminence. It looked like Rejects were going to be able to capitalize on that initial EMP, but it just wasn't enough. Eminence were able to come back from it. Really nice bounce back. Now into this next fight, however, Rejects, they are going to have a couple support ultimates. I'm really curious. We are going to see Black Frost changing onto that Zarya. They're deciding they've gotten the use from the Sombra that they can. Eminence, they have a Graviton to continue holding here. They might use it early.
They might use it early because this is last fight territory. We see the Grav coming out. Can anyone touch the point here from Rejects? We see Henki pushing forward, and also Ingemar there does manage to touch the point. However, they've lost two members of their team. It will just take Eminence a second to turn around and get back onto that point. Yes, it has flipped, but they should be able to finish this up and wrap up this first match in style.
It does look like Eminence are going to wrap it up. Really nicely done. And so, yeah, again, really nice stuff from Eminence Esports. The mind games are just so fun to watch right now. It's really exciting stuff.
Yeah, I loved all the hero swaps from both teams here. Both teams trying to outplay each other with the hero picks. You don't see that very often, so it's nice to see from both teams. And it was very back and forth. I couldn't call it at the moment. This is quite a close match.
Right, it was really going back and forth for a while there. I think that staying on the Sombra and trying to make use of that EMP, while they did get some initial value, they weren't able to fully capitalize on it, and I think that really bit Rejects a little bit there. I think that if they had just swapped right onto the triple tank, triple support, that Ghost composition, and just slammed right on into Eminence Esports, they might have had a little bit of an easier time there.
Yeah, and we will be going to downtown, so some sight lines back from some snipers. We do see Vortex on that Widow, so that could prove pivotal in this first fight.
Well, yeah, so it looks like the same sort of composition Eminence Esports ran to start off that last map they're running this time around. But this time, Rejects, they're going to stick with the triple tank, triple support. They're not going back to the dive composition that helped them win that team fight before. And now Vistola has already found a pick onto Henki.
Yeah, oh wow, Vortex as well with the shot on L there. It's a 6v4. Teo as well, picking off Engamar. They're going to wrap up this fight early, and they're going to build up a lot of ult charge doing so.
So it seems that Eminence Esports have really found that this composition that they're running right now, the triple DPS, the double main healer, and then Darkardus on the Hammond is really strong against the GOATs. It's already forced Rejects to switch onto a more dive-heavy composition. So I'm really curious to see, Eminence Esports, will they be able to hold out in this next fight, or will this be Rejects again winning with this particular composition?
Well, we see Snurt diving onto the high ground, looking to put some pressure on the back line of Eminence, but is punished for it there. Deo as well, getting a 2k early on, and that's probably shut down this push right now.
Really nice stuff, responding to that dive so well, getting those early picks. And now look at the ultimate economy that is on the side of Eminence Esports. They have 4, coming up 5, 6. They almost have everything on the board for this next team fight. And Rejects, they don't have a lot to show. It's very likely to go in Eminence's way.
Oh, but Deo there goes for the barrage, gets punished by Snurt there. Does manage to get the D-Mech, so that could prove pivotal. However, the rest of Rejects here looking to get involved, press that advantage, but they're running into all of the ultimates of Eminence here. We see Bob coming out, and Nano Bob trying to do something, manages to pick off Tricky, manages to pick off Ingeborg there. Bob is doing something, and oh my gosh, look at that kill feed. Vestola there, Ash all the way.
Vestola with the nanoed Bob. Oh my goodness. Wow, what a treat to be able to see that in this game. 76% for Eminence Esports, and they are doing this in style. Rejects, they have a couple support ultimates online for this next fight. They're wrapping around the backside of the point to try and throw Eminence Esports off.
Yeah, the wrong name here coming out with the early Valkyrie to keep the rest of Eminence alive, trying to win the game here and now. But Ingemar there gets into the back lines, kills Ruby there, so they've lost a lot of healing. The wrong name has to go for the heal here, but can't heal the rest of the team whilst rezzing Ruby. Henki falls though, so this could be it. It's 99%. The point's just about to flip. We see the EMP as well coming out from the side of Blackfrost there from Rejects. They're getting the kills here. They managed to flip the point. They might be able to finish this off, but Vestola says no. Gets a couple of kills. The wrong name falls. Are they going to choose to try and take the fight? Yes, they are. Bob is coming out. Bob is trying to do something here. Putting the rounds into Tricky. Tricky using the defense matrix to back up here, and maybe we're going to see a switch from the Ash now.
Right, I think that Eminence Esports, they just wanted to get Bob back on the field, get them a little more playing time, and now they're going to be switching on to that triple tank, triple support. But Rejects making a lot of good use of the Sombra pick. They started off with a nice hack onto the Ana, and then Genji got in there, finished up the kill, and that really snowballed for Rejects to clean up the rest of those kills. And now in this next fight, Rejects are going to have 3 ultimates, including Engamar's Blade. Keep your eye out for that.
Eminence just needing to win one fight here to take Busan from Rejects. We see the Blade coming out now from Ingemar. Manages to kill Jakartas there, looking for more. Can he get more? Yes, he gets one more. Deo has fallen. Blackfrost finishes off Vortex as well, and Eminence choose to suicide and respawn.
Really great stuff there, and again, making good use of the Sombra, but this time it looks like they're making a mad dash for the spawn room to switch off onto the GOATs. They're going to try and get back onto the point to defend before Eminence Esports can get there, but it's going to be a tight one.
It is going to be a tight one. We see the Coalescence come out early. Henki just trying to keep the rest of Rejects alive as they get back to point. They are on point now. A bit of a brawl. We see the self-destruct come out. It catches Vortex there. And Snurt with the primal, bashing Deo into the train there. And again, Eminence are going to reset. Great to see the patience. They want to come back together as a team.
Right. That is really crucial, again, for these GOATs compositions. You need everyone to move as a team, as one unit onto the point. It is 90% for Rejects. They are trying to tie up this series on Busan right now. It's going to be right down to the wire.
they managed to touch the point. It is 99-99 here. Both teams wanting to win, wanting to establish dominance early on. The point will flip to Eminence, forcing at least somebody from Rejects to touch the point. Yes, there it is. Dives on, trying to stay alive though, as Eminence are on the point. They're happy just to let this fight go out longer and longer because they're in this ghost composition of Estola sending out that Diva Bomb. Gets Black Frost there. They've got the kills. They're happy to brawl it out. They know that they've got this locked in. And Rejects here just trying to make something happen, but there's not enough of them left alive, and that was a very good showing, a very good comeback there from Eminence. Obviously, they lost the point. They had 99%. They knew they just needed to win one fight, and they showed the patience, they showed the grit, and they managed to take Busan.
But again, it was close. It was a really close matchup. Even though it was a 2-0 on Busan for Eminence Esports, I mean, these points just kept getting flipped back and forth, back and forth. We saw so many great plays. Here's a play of the game here from Vestola, although maybe Bob deserves a play of the game there, but really great stuff. That was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, that was the moment for me on that map was Vestola there with the Bob. Bob obviously doesn't always do something, but definitely did something there. But we will be going on to the next map here. So it's going to be Escort. It's either going to be Dorado or Route 66. And the pick here will be Reject. So this could be quite important.
Right. Again, having control over what map you're going to be playing next really can be favorable for that team. So I'm really curious, are we going to see Dorado, or are we going to see Route 66? I wonder if they might, stray away from going to Route 66. I'm just speculating here, but because we saw Eminence, looking very comfortable on a triple DPS composition, we've seen that be successful on Route 66 in the past. So I wouldn't be surprised if we end up going to Dorado instead.
And it looks like we will be going to Dorado. So are you sure you weren't even in the comms of the team there? But no, I like this pick, right? Because Dorado, it's a 3-stage. And the first and second stages, especially the second, allows you to have those high ground vantage points, especially as defenders, using Widow to your advantage. So you tend to see a little less goats there. And then you've got the third point, which is brutally close quarters. So that tends to go a little bit goats. But I like this pick here from Rejects. And perhaps they've got some strategies on this map that they're going to be showing us today.
Yeah, I like this pick as well, especially because we saw that, when they decided to run goats, they ran goats with the Winston. Maybe that was just because, they were running the dive composition earlier on and they want to keep some of that ult charge. But maybe it just shows that they like to run the goats composition that has the Winston as the main tank instead of the Rhine. And because Dorado has so much high ground for teams to utilize, that could really prove to be a benefit to Rejects here.
And what I've loved so far from both teams is their adaptability. They're not just saying we're going to stick on this composition and make it work no matter what's going on in the map. They're changing up their hero compositions to try and defeat their opponents. Out of the door here, we saw Rejects go back to the spawn room in Busan just to switch everything up, gave up the point to come back and actually won that first fight on Busan on Shrine there. So maybe we'll see some hero switches, especially from the attackers, because they've got the opportunity to do so on this first point. The defenders not so much because they don't have the spawn advantage. But I'm looking to maybe see some hero swaps from the attackers, and I'd love to see some more Ashe play and some more Bob play.
Yeah, and I'm just really excited to see some more mind games. What are Eminence Esports going to do in response to this triple tank, triple support we're seeing from Rejects? Are they going to run this triple DPS that they're running out the gate? Or are they going to switch to more of the traditional triple tank, triple support? It does look like already they have moved back into the spawn room, and we're going to see some switches. So, yep, it is going to be triple tank, triple support, right back into the counterpart. But a couple of key differences, right? We're going to see Snert on the Winston, whereas Darkartis is on the Reinhardt. And other than that, it's pretty much the same. So I'm curious to see, is the Winston going to win out against the Reinhardt here?
Well, hopefully Snert's not going to be facing off against the Reinhardt. He's going to be looking for targets in the back line to try and kill off the supports, but Tricky's gone down already, so it's a 5v6, and Snert dies as well. This might be it from Rejects, and they're retreating here. They're looking to regroup and maybe get another contest.
That was really a good response there from Eminence Esports. They just kind of plowed ahead, didn't pay too much attention to the Winston that was trying to get into their back line. And so now this card is moving into the marketplace. So Rejects, Snert did change onto the Reinhardt. We'll see how they respond.
See how they respond indeed, because they're already back on this point, and pretty even here. Maybe Eminence with a slight ult advantage. They're happy to let this go until they start getting their ults online and looking to win out with those ultimates here as well. Both teams just jockeying for position around this water fountain. And now it looks like Rejects are going forward. We see the Shatter come out. We see the Shatter in return as well. But Jakarta's goes down. It is a 6v5. Transcendence there as well, coming out from Henki, keeping Rejects alive, and they win out here.
Really great stuff there. Snert got their Earth Shatter very quickly, considering that both Dark Artist and Snert used their shatters basically at the same time. And so now we see that Eminence Esports, they are going to have 5 ultimates in the bank for this next fight, right? And Rejects, they don't have a lot of support ultimates on the board. So Vortex with that Graviton, that could come up really huge. But keep your eyes on Black Frost. They're sneaky. Look at this.
Oh my gosh, there comes the Graviton Surge. Oh my gosh, Tricky's self-destruct there actually does catch something I didn't think it would. We see the Graviton in return, we see another self-destruct, but Dio on the Brigitte, just pushing forward, swinging left and right, gets a couple of the picks, all the picks going Eminence's way there, and oh my gosh, that could have been huge, but the self-destruct just managed to miss that doorway.
It could have been really huge. So Ruby, with that transcendence into Black Frost's Graviton Surge, really the hero play right there, saved Dio, and because of that, Dio was able to push ahead, get some of those picks that allowed Eminence Esports to snowball through there. Really great response. I do like that creativity, though, from Black Frost to kind of be sneaky. But look at what Eminence Esports are doing. They're trying to catch Rejects off guard here by being on the high ground.
Yeah, I think they expected Rejects to be on that high ground with some different hero picks, but Rejects staying on this Goat's ground-heavy composition, and they're pushing forward with the armor from Ingamar, just giving that a little bit of extra sustainability. And looks like Eminence are going to back off, happy to poke away, charge up some ultimates, look for some openings, look to try and get the first pick, perhaps with Ruby on that Zenyatta, but both teams fairly evenly matched here, playing for position on this corner. No team wants to give the advantage away. We see the Graviton come out, we see a Shatter in return, we see the Transcendence coming out as well. Both teams just trying to get a pick here, but there's so much sustain, so much healing. Oh my gosh, we see another Shatter coming out as well, but the Transcendence in return from Ruby. And this could come down to who used their ultimates last. We see another Graviton come out, but no real follow-up. Both teams using ultimates here, but no kills as yet. As I say that, the Ruby with the orbs finishes off Ingamar. Snert dies as well. Eminence jumping forward like a pack of wolves here, looking to press that advantage, press that numbers advantage, and it looks like they're going to secure second point.
And really, I do believe that Dio's rally at the end there just gave them that slight edge, because again, it was so back and forth. You know, it wasn't really clear who's going to win this out. Snert, they are charging back onto the point.
They are indeed, and we see Henki come out with the Transcendence, keeping Rejects alive as they try and contest. However, a couple of his teammates have already fallen, and oh my gosh, though, Tricky sending out that self-destruct does manage to get a pick, but the rest of Rejects have fallen around. But Rejects just wanting to buy some time here, and we see a self-destruct come out from Pistola as well, finishing off Black Frost. Snert just trying to buy some time, put some more time on the clock for them, and they're going to defend their point now.
Really great stuff. Eminence Esports pushing on forward, and look at this aggression we're seeing from Dark Artist, trying to take some extra space there, get a cheeky little swing there of the Fire Strike. But again, Eminence Esports, they're really managing their ultimate economy very well. We see a lot of ultimates going to be online, starting with the rally from Dia.
It's giving the rest of Eminence a bit of sustain there. It's a counter-rallying though from Ingamar. Both teams with the armor, both teams with the sustain, both teams looking for opportunities to get an early pick. And Eminence backing off, they'd use their cooldowns there, letting them recharge before they re-engage. Very, very smart from them. And now we see the ultimates come out, we see the sound barrier, we see the Graviton. Eminence pumping the damage into it as well, getting a few picks. And Reject's going to have to regroup and come back as a team.
It's not only the engagements that are really impressing me from Eminence Esports, but those disengages. We saw them back off when Rejects were getting aggressive, getting in their face. Then they throw out that Graviton Surge and get right back into the fight. Really great stuff. Maybe that is some of that experience from last season that is paying off for them.
Yeah, they're just happy to bait Rejects into using their cooldowns, and then they re-engage. And we see the self-destruct comes out. Black from down. Tank lineup from Rejects are down. We see now the Transcendence coming out from Henki, just trying to buy these tanks time to get back to point so that they can contest, but it might be too little too late as we see a counter Transcendence from Ruby, keeping the rest of Eminence alive, and they're picking off Rejects one by one, and they're going to move this payload to the end, and what an excellent display there from Eminence.
Really great stuff. I mean, Vestola, they didn't even need to combo the Diva Bomb with any, other CC ultimates like a Grav or a Shatter. They just threw it out there, got an easy double kill, right? Like it was no big deal. So really nice stuff from Vestola and the rest of Eminence Esports to push forward. And they have 2 minutes left on the clock just in case Rejects are able to complete the map as well. So they are sitting in a very good position. They have to be happy with that push.
Yeah, I mean, they've got to be really happy having that 2 minutes left on the clock, but they do have to defend themselves now. So we'll see how they do with that. Rejects having the opportunity, obviously, to take the cot to the end, and then we go into overtime. But what I really liked from Eminence was the tank play, right? Because the bubbles from the Zarya keeping the Reinhardt alive were fantastic. But as we said, they had the patience to be able to disengage. So when those bubbles were down, there must have been some really good communication because they were backing up, waiting for their cooldowns to come online, waiting for Rejects to perhaps extend a little bit further than Rejects should have been doing there. And then once Rejects had used their cooldowns, that's when Eminence engaged. So they actually had the cooldown advantage rather than the ultimate advantage in a lot of those fights. And that's what won out those fights and allowed them to increase their ultimate advantage by just winning on those little tiny points.
Mm-hmm. I really enjoy when you can watch a team and basically see the shot calling in real time, right? You saw how they were able to back off, how they, when they capped that first point, they started on the high ground and then came back down. So I really like when you can see the shot calling in real time. Rejects, they are going to have to respond to a triple tank, triple support coming out from Eminence Esports, and very aggressive hold here from Eminence. They are at the spawn gates.
Yeah, I think they're happy to do this as well because even if they lose a fight here, they're definitely going to get a second contest, maybe even a third. So they're really pressuring up here. They've got to be careful though because of the healing that Rejects are going to be able to get just by dropping back a few meters into spawn. And Rejects looking to come out the other door here. Eminence happy to let them and then to engage. And they're all over the point here. They just want to stall this out, build up some ultimates, and they're going to be really happy if they win the first engagement here. Rejects, though, not looking to let them win this first engagement. Coming in, putting the pressure on, using their cooldowns, just forcing Eminence back to that first corner. So both teams can use that corner for cover to avoid some poke damage. Both teams, oh my gosh, we see such an early Henki allowing Rejects to push forward, get a little bit more aggressive. Dakotas does fall. However, look at this. We get some disengages from Eminence, and they're going to be able to definitely get a second contest here.
I am really impressed that they were able to call out Dakotas on the Reinhardt with that shatter. Right as it was about to come down, you saw the stun get in there, and they took out the Reinhardt immediately. So really nice response from Rejects. Really nice, alt tracking there to know they had it. Now coming into this though, Snurd is going to have an Earth Shatter as well. Keep your eyes on that.
And they're going to engage with the sound barrier from the wrong name. 6v5. Rest of Eminence pressing the advantage again with this numbers advantage, and they know when to get aggressive.
They sure do, getting right in the face of Rejects. That was really great stuff. So now coming into this next fight, however, Eminence, they have a couple ultimates to work with, but Rejects, they're the ones with a lot here. They really can go off of a lot of different looks. They can run that Grav Bomb combo. They can throw in a Shatter, but they don't have any major support ultimates except for ELE's Sound Barrier if they can get on time. But Vortex might be able to catch them off guard with their own Grav.
Yeah, they might need to be patient here. Just try and out from Ruby and save their ultimates until that is done with. We see the early rally coming out as well from Ingemar, keeping his team alive. But look at this, we've got Graviton. Doesn't even matter though, because picks here, and a lot of ultimates used there by Rejects, and Eminence are going to have a lot in the bank for this next event.
Wow, I am just really so impressed with the way that Eminence Esports are responding to what Rejects are throwing at them. They used a lot of ultimates in that last fight and really got nothing in return. Rejects threw a lot and got nothing in return. So now, coming into this next fight with just over a minute left on the clock, Rejects need to find some answers. Dakotas, they are going to have their own Shatter. They're going to start off with a rally.
And Rejects do have 2 support ults, but Henki falls early, so they're going to have to regroup. 50 seconds left on the clock. They're going to have to regroup fast, but those staggers are brutal.
Yeah, so now, again, Eminence Esports, they do such a good job of engaging with the rallies. We've seen it a couple different times now, but that extra armor just gives them such an edge in those initial team fights. It allows them to snowball off of it. So now, Rejects, again, they have a couple support ultimates, and maybe Snurk can get their Earth Shatter, but with 20 seconds left on the clock, it's going to be really tough for them.
Yeah, this is lost fight territory. Rejects looking to maybe use those support ultimates aggressively, and that's exactly what they do. L there with the sound barrier. Dakotas has fallen as well. However, we see the Graviton come out from Vortex, and oh my gosh, that bomb from Vestola there gets the 2K and the D-Mech onto Tricky. This could be it, but no, the Shatter coming out from Snurk. We see the sound barrier in return. We see the Graviton coming out as well, and the rest of Rejects just need to get those picks and keep people on the payload. And Eminence just happy to stall this out, get picks of their own. Vestola gets the pick onto Snurt though. They might have the numbers advantage here. We see the stun come out, and now we see the Transcendence coming out from Ruby, keeping Eminence alive. And look at this, they're getting so aggressive. Vortex pushing forward, getting the kill there onto Henki with the orbs from Ruby in the backline here, and Eminence might just win out on this, and they do!
Wow, Eminence Esports able to get the full hold here on Dorado, looking very dominant on this escort map type. Really great stuff, and they were just using their ultimates so effectively, starting with those rallies, engaging with them, but it's going to be Vestola who gets play of the game here, definitely deserved. Their diva play was just really outstanding. I mean, ending out that full hold with that 2K diva bomb really sealed the deal for them. It was really impressive stuff from Eminence, but Rejects, you know, even though this was a rough map for them, I'm still expecting them to come back into this.
Yeah, they will get the next pick, and that could prove pivotal. But right now, we've got Trenok and the guys on the desk who are going to be able to break this all down for us. And I think there's a lot to break down here, Trenok.
Thank you, Spaceman. I do hope there's a lot to break down. I think a little less in the map 2, where Eminence were looking really strong. But let's go back into map 1, talk about what happened on Sanctuary and what happened on Downtown. You had such great counter picks coming out from both teams, and it really looked like these teams were going to be able to truly challenge each other. Downtown, Rejects had some amazing plays. Panda, tell me exactly what was happening there in that one moment on Downtown where they ran back with that Lucio, picked up Bazaria, and came right back into the fight.
This is the high level Overwatch that you came to see here, right? So when you see, you can even take Sanctuary for example too. They saw the hamster composition with the pharmacy and the Ana. Same thing that they saw in Downtown, but they went immediately back to the spawn. After they cycled through the blade and that fight, after they didn't combo with EMP, then they took the speed boost. They took their Genji and their Sombra player at the time ran all the way back to spawn. It was Ingmar and Black Frost that had to go back to the spawn, and then they sped all the way back to point on a full Winston Goats composition, and that's what this patch is all about. Keep in mind, there's a lot of viable compositions, but you have to be very nitpicky with what you take here and there, and you have to take those engagements clearly. We almost thought that Rejects weren't going to be able to get that blade off, and they were going to take a swap earlier on, but they really played it out well. It's just very unfortunate that they didn't get to take the stage.
It is a little bit unfortunate, but I think part of that came down to Rejects not capitalizing on mistakes that Eminence were making. Beat, I know there was that one moment where Dio was just on a Brigida, could have gotten the stagger, and Rejects just didn't capitalize on it. What are they doing wrong here that they are not actually winning these fights and they didn't actually manage to take Downtown?
Well, it's definitely a lack of focus fire. I think, there are times where somebody is caught out. Even Vortex was in a similar position on the Downtown where, he's deep into your back line, and that's not where Zarya is supposed to be. So that's kind of your moment. The Discord was on him, so, good on Henki for it. But, gets the HP really low, doesn't actually get taken out. And that's a big problem because letting things like that happen are definitely like recipes for disaster, because you got to be able to punish mistakes as well as making all the right decisions. Because especially when you're on that higher level, you're gonna be dealing with other teams who can play everything to the high level, but nobody's perfect. There are always gonna be those small mistakes, and it's all gonna be about how well you can actually take advantage, how well you can find the chink in the armor and just break it right open.
And one of those things too, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because you want to look for those cracks in the armor and you want to exploit that in a way that you have to be very careful in doing so, right? But there's also missed opportunities for both these teams. When you see Brigitte just hanging out there, and this is live patch, y'all. She don't do that damage no more. She can self-sustain herself, but she doesn't do damage like that anymore. You have the resources, you have the abilities, you have the keys to unlock the door. Go take down the raid boss. I don't understand. Like, you shouldn't just leave. You can't just leave a support, regardless of Brigitte, Lucio, or Zenyatta, just hanging out there. That is a stagger. You need to take away those eliminations and elongate that control percentage.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely take out that raid boss, man. Take her on. Course the stagger. You probably could have come out of that fight a lot better. And then let's go into map 2 now, where Rejects completely fell apart. No fault to Eminence, who were just playing perfectly, but looked like Rejects lacked a bit of focus. Lot less consistent than they were in Busan. Panda, give us some coaching lessons. How do Rejects come back from this? How do they reform, restructure, and how does Henki stop being so trigger happy with their Transcendence?
I think Henki just we were sitting here. Of course, you didn't get to see it, but we were sitting here just thinking about it. It's like Henki is living in the memes. Like, I'm gonna say it. Experience tranquility. He's just using those too early, and it leaves for opportunities for the enemy's Arya player, Vortex, on Eminence, just to gobble you up in a Graviton Surge. Sound barrier is good, but it's not that good. It's not going to be coming out at a timely fashion. You need to keep your front line alive, not by way of Transcendence, but by properly positioning yourself. Take a page out of Eminence books. Look at the way that they were actually pushing the cart through first. There wasn't a single time that Eminence main tank of Dark wasn't taking his corners properly. His shield was a little bit pressured. He had a corner to go and hide back from. On the other side of Rejects, Snurt just seems to have a wanting to go forward. And what that does for your supports, it has the need to want to go forward with them. But when they don't have the resources to sustain them, when you don't have that Ana, you don't have the burst heals with the Moira even, it's not going to necessarily happen. This is 3-3. You have triple supports, but when the armor pack from Brigitte's not down, you can't rely on the Transcendence to keep your front line alive. So you need to play a little bit more passively, a little bit proactively, because when you're facing a very aggressive team like Eminence, those out-of-position targets will present themselves. Rejects just need to find those and capitalize on top of them.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up too, because I think one of the big things with Dorado is that early on, a lot of it was some mistakes here or there from the Rejects, but Eminence Esports also just happened to play it very well in the sense that they actually predicted the sniper composition. We saw the D.Va, I believe Expistola, just take that high ground position and sit up there, and immediately they try to come out with the Widowmaker, and D.Va sitting on top of your face. Like, what are you gonna do? You can't shoot. You can't do anything. So they go back into the spawn. They make a slight mistake early on in their approach, and then they just seems like Rejects were uncomfortable the entire time. So a lot of props to Eminence for just keeping them on the back foot, and I think that contributed really well to their whole hold.
It's great that you brought up Mistola on that D.Va, because he also had a lot of space to get self-destructs off, and Rejects just gave him that space. They were just running around the self-destruct rather than trying to find cover. Why? What was this frantic panic about? Every time the self-destruct came in, Vistola got so much value out of it.
Well, part of it is shield break and stuff like that, but yeah, I think most of it is that it's just they break the shield, the bombs come from good position, so it's really hard for them to deal with.
Well, let's see how they deal with it. We are going into Volskaya Industries, and of course, it's going to be the man in space and someone who sounds like an alien, Mr. Zark, who are going to take you through that map.
Thanks very much, guys. Excellent breakdown there at halftime. We are going into Volskaya Industries, another Rejects pick here. Why do you think they've gone for Volskaya this time round, Zark?
I think it's a map where, again, there is some advantage to using a Winston. You can use some of that high ground that overlooks that first point and the high ground that surrounds the second point as well. to use like a Winston, which it seems like that's more what Snert likes to play. Whenever they start out with the composition, whenever they're running goats, they like to start out with the Winston and then they switch on to the run. So I wonder if that's a factor here. But it's hard to say really. Volskaya, again, it is a map where goats is pretty heavily played. So yeah, it's hard to say, but we'll see what they decide to run.
Yeah, I quite like the Volskaya pick. I mean, we've seen in other open division and sort of contenders matches as well on Hanamura, which is the other choice here. Some crazy Bastion Symmetra plays, especially on defense. So maybe they were just looking to avoid any chance of that happening and just try and play a more traditional GOAT style game. Maybe that's where they think they're going to win out here. But we also see some interesting defenses. First point Volskaya. We see Stombra's come out sometimes. So sometimes I've even seen the Torbjorn defense where everyone just bunkers up in that little bit of a little bit of cover next to the point. But I think we're probably going to see some traditional compositions from both sides here. But maybe some hero switches as we've seen in both the last two maps.
And, I actually wouldn't be surprised if we saw the Sombra pick. We saw Black Frost getting a fair bit of value from that particular pick last time around when they were on Busan using that character. So it wouldn't surprise me if we saw that being played here. It was something that was run a lot in Overwatch League Season 1. But, sort of went out of meta as the triple tank, triple support came in. So I don't think it's the strong pick, but we might see it from Rejects. Maybe that's part of what factored into picking this particular map.
Yeah, I mean, you're 2-0 down at the moment, but perhaps the scoreline doesn't suggest just how close, especially Busan was between Rejects and Eminence Esports here. So maybe Rejects thinking, okay, we could go with some crazy strategies here. We're 2-0 down. We need to do something a little bit different. The goats fights here, it looks like Eminence have the advantage. Maybe they want to not play some goats, but we're going to see Black Frost here. I think we're going to see Black Frost on the Widow, and maybe that's where they're going to find some advantage. Maybe Black Frost here is going to pop off and get some early kills in these team fights.
That's certainly what they are going to try to do. Rejects running a double sniper sort of dive composition. So they have those dive tanks, the Winston and the Diva. They are going to be running Angamar on the Hanzo, Black Frost on the Widowmaker, and then ELE on the Mercy, and they're going to have a Zen. So, I'm really curious to see how they're going to play this. They're going to try and, get some different sight lines, make it really hard for that Reinhardt to really protect their team with that shield and make them a little uneasy. Vortex is going to do some early scouting, though, with the Sombra and see what exactly Rejects are running, and that may inform how Eminence Esports decide to change it up, as we're already seeing Darkardas switching onto the Winston to, again, respond a little better to this sort of dive tank line we're seeing from Rejects.
And I love the scouting here. They're willing to give up, 10, 20, maybe even 30 seconds just to have the right composition going in here to try and defeat Rejects. And they're going to be going high ground here, looking to avoid some of that poke damage, not give too much ultimate charge to Rejects, who are happy just to sit on the high ground by the point here. They can see that this rotation is coming from Eminence, and now the dive is coming in from Eminence. They're looking to get on the back line, kill the enemy support, so they cut off the healing there from Rejects. But Snert is actually the tank who dies first, and look at this, they've already got one tick on the point, and they're looking to press their numbers advantage here. Oh my god, L goes in for the res, but is punished, and some great strategy there coming out from the attacking team onto that first point.
Really great stuff. Eminence, they knew that Black Frost was going to be a problem, so they forced them to reposition early on. And then, we saw that Snert just got caught out of position. Eminence was able to capitalize on a nice stun and take out there from Dio. So now they're running into this. They're going to have a rally to start off, and there it is.
And they're looking to finish second point and snowball quickly, try and get some extra time on that clock, and they're going for, we see the primal there coming out from Carter's, he manages to knock Henke off the map. They do have the numbers advantage here. Vortex getting the kill onto Sturt as well. All the picks going the way of Eminence, and they're going to be really happy with this. It's just down to Rejects now to try and group up, get back onto that point, maybe win out, or just buy themselves a little bit of time, because they've nearly lost second tick here. We see the Transcendence coming out from Henke, just trying to stall out a little bit, but as soon as that Transcendence is gone, he's going to be going down here. And yes, Deo finishes him off. All the picks there in favor of Eminence Esports. And again, some members of Rejects getting back onto the point, just looking to buy time, especially with Black Frost on that Tracer. And this is all about how quickly Eminence can finish off the Staggers here. And they're going to be taking this point with 5.5 minutes left on the clock. That is impressive.
And that was really rough for Henke. They tried to save the D.Va mech to just stall out just even a little bit more time with that Transcendence, but they got there just a half a second too late. They lost the mech, and then, you know, it just kind of snowballed from there. So unfortunate. But starting off, Eminence Esports, again, they're really liking to take these engagements by starting off with a rally, get in there, into that back line. Darkarda's a really nice primal raise there, knocking off Henke on the Zenyatta to start off that round. And then, you know, Zen, they're so important to the GOAT's composition. They do so much healing and give an extra little damage boost with those Discord orbs that without them in your composition, things start to crumble a little bit. I know that, you know, typically Reinhardt's are the linchpin of the GOAT's composition, but Zens are really important as well. And when you don't have them for your defense, it can be really difficult. But Eminence Esports, they're going to be coming onto the defense this time around. And it looks like they're running a triple tank, triple support with Darkarda's back on the Winston. So very similar to what they ran on the attack.
Yeah, I love their attack as well. I love the scouting. They obviously had a strategy planned for if Rejects were running the dive defense that they were. You know, they chose to go that long route around the point and dive when the opportunity suited them best. But now Rejects are going to have the chance to scout here. We've got Black Frost on the Sombra.
Black Frost on the Sombra. We're seeing Vestola on the high ground, just trying to get some cheeky damage in there, see what the enemy's running. But of course, because they are, because Rejects are on the attack, they are going to get to scout a little bit and see what the enemy is running. So that looks like it's going to inform their decisions a little bit here. They're making some swaps, triple DPS, kind of similar to what Eminence Esports were running back on Busan, except they are going to have Snurt on the Winston again this time around instead of a Wrecking Ball. So we'll see how they run this. Keep your eyes on Henke. They should be getting their ultimate pretty quickly into this tank-heavy composition.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of pressure onto Vestola here to try and at least mitigate some of the damage coming in from Henke. And Henke's just happy to pump the damage in, try and build up that barrage perhaps. And Ingemar on the high ground with his Hanzo looking to get some early picks so that his team can take advantage of that. Manages to do just that with a headshot onto Ruby. It is a 5v6 here. Ruby has fallen, a little less healing for Team Eminence. Black Frost getting the pick onto the wrong name as well. So much healing loss for the defending team. Black Frost, look at that kill feed. Getting a couple of picks there, building up that Bob, ready for second point.
Oh yeah, they want a nano Bob play of the game themselves. Well, maybe not nano, there's not Anna, but you know, they definitely want that Bob play of the game. They're getting some nice percentage on the point. Haven't taken a tick yet, but they likely will very quickly here. I don't think Eminence want to engage on that point. They're just going to set up for their next second point defense, but really nice stuff from Rejects. It looked a little scattered of a team fight there, but really starting off with that Engamar pick onto the Zen proved so useful, and now they have quite a few ultimates to work with here. They could very well snowball this out, but Dio, they have switched on to the Genji, so they're trying to respond, maybe take out that Mercy ELE early on in this team fight.
Maybe so, and Henke gets the pick onto Dio though, so won't be available for this next fight. We see Bob coming in now, we see the barrage coming out from Henke, manages to get the pick onto Carter. This could be huge. Bob gets the pick onto Vortex as well. We see the self-destruct coming out from Vestola, just trying to stop this push from Rejects. But Rejects pushing forward, they've got the numbers advantage, they're focusing their targets well. Vestola choosing to retreat here, very, very clever, going to come back in with the rest of Eminence at the same time. And we see the Winston now to Carter's, having that primal rage, able to stall out. Oh my gosh, jumping onto Black Frost, who was in the back line, getting a few picks. Elder will fall as well. I can't believe it. Eminence have managed to come back and They've only given up 1 tick here.
Only one take. Really nice re-engage from Eminence Esports. Again, showing that experience, the disengage and then the re-engage. Very clean stuff. I do wonder if Rejects are going to swap. It does look like they are going to go triple tank, triple support. So I saw them use a lot of ultimates in that initial fight, and I thought to myself, this is a lot of ultimates for, opening this up. They must want to switch after this. So that's what they're going to do, and they're going to be running into an identical composition to their own. So now we'll see who wins it out.
We will see indeed, as Rejects do push in here. Trick using the defense matrix to stop some of that poke damage coming in, but the ult advantage is in favor of the defenders, and they're pushing forward. They don't even need ults here. They pick off Smirk, they pick off Henke, and they're going to chase them all the way back to spawn here.
I mentioned Reinhardt's being so important for the GOATS compositions, and we saw it coming out again right there. You lose the Reinhardt, you lose the rest of your team in many cases. So that was a nice, disengage from Rejects. They tried to back out of there as quickly as they could. Eminence was again pretty aggressive, but now they do have Dio's rally coming up pretty soon here. They could use that aggressively again to engage in this next fight.
That's what they're going to be looking to do now. We see the rally come out from Dio. We see them get aggressive, just as you predicted, Zark. And I'm loving the patience here from Rejects. They're choosing just to back off, not let the advantage of the defenders there give away some kills. And they're just choosing to poke here, build up some ultimates of their own.
Yeah, showing that they can disengage as well. They're going to re-engage pretty quickly here, and they have a couple ultimates. They could use a rally pretty soon as well, but it's going to start with the bomb.
And we see the self-destruct come out, doesn't catch anyone thanks to the shield of the Reinhardt there. However, supports are already going down. We see the aggression come out from the Eminence as well. They're getting those staggers, just buying a lot of time here.
Really great stuff from Eminence. And, it started by taking out the Lucio. And really, once you lose any member of your composition early on in this fight, if you're the attacking team, it's really hard to effectively win these team fights because the defenders have such a strong spawn advantage. Rejects, they are going to have a couple of ultimates in this next fight, but so does Eminence. It's going to be a clash of ultimates coming up here, including Gravitons. That's going to be really big.
And here comes the Graviton, here comes the Transcendence. It is an ultimate Fiesta here. We see a counter Graviton as well coming out from the Rejects, but the Shatter stops them in their tracks. The Shatter from Descartes could prove pivotal here. We see a Shatter in return, though, coming out from Snurt. All the ultimates coming out, but no picks on either side here. And we see the rally now coming out from Dio on the side of the defense. However, we see the D-Mech as well onto Vestola. That could be pivotal here. We see the attack coming from the Rejects, and they're not so rejected anymore. They're getting onto that point. They're getting the picks they need. Eminence, though, being patient. This patience is what they're known for throughout this series so far, proving to be very, very effective. We see a very effective Lucio coming out from the wrong name. Rejects just can't kill him, and that's sport time for the rest of the team to get back onto point here. We see some more ultimates coming out. The Graviton coming out from Black Frost, looking to keep Eminence off the point, but they've come the other way. They've come with a Graviton of their own. However, Henke had that Transcendence in the bank, ready for that to keep his team alive. But now we see the self-destruct coming out and the Transcendence as well from Ruby. However, there's picks on both sides. Eminence, again, happy to play this patiently. They've given up 2 ticks. We see the Shatter, though, coming out from Snurt, keeping the rest of Eminence off the point, and they should be able to finish it up here. Yes, they do. Rejects finish this game with time on the clock, but is it enough time to win out on this match?
It's going to be close. And again, Rejects, I'm really impressed with how they played that. They forced out both defensive support ultimates early on in that fight, right? They started with the Grav, they forced out the Trans. Then you saw the Shatter come out. Then Lucio for Eminence Esports responded with the Sound Barrier. But then they really didn't have anything else to defend. That allowed Rejects to push in, get some picks, and really snowball that point. So really well done from Rejects getting back into this. Of course, Eminence Esports, they are going to have the larger time bank, which means that Rejects are the ones who are going to have to attack first. They really need to make good use of that minute and 34 seconds that they have, because it's not a lot of time to work with considering the time bank that Eminence have.
No, even if they win out on this first point in the first fight fairly convincingly, Eminence did a really good job of stalling the point on second there, so I suspect they're going to do the same again this time round. So if they get it to the end, I don't foresee much time, if any, left on the clock for Rejects. Whereas, look at that on the side of Eminence. They've got 5.5 minutes there to work with. I think they're going to be sitting pretty comfortably here.
Well, looks like Eminence, they're sitting with this triple tank composition again, a triple tank, triple support composition. And Rejects, looks like they did a little scouting there again. They are switching the composition. Looks like they want to go with a quad DPS and Snurt on the Winston, so similar to their last attacking run. So it's going to start with Snurt taking this high ground position, Henke pelting the enemy with those rockets. And it all comes down to who the target is, and Black Frost is the first to fall.
Yeah, and look at this. Eminence, they know they've got the advantage here. They're pressing forward. They're getting kills. They're getting staggers here. And Rejects are going to have to back off, regroup, and come again. They've got 50 seconds to do so.
And so I really like that rotation you saw from Eminence Esports. They took out the Ashe and the Mercy right away, really, because without ELE on the Mercy giving those that healing, there's really nothing that Rejects can work with. They are going to switch it up onto the triple tank, triple support, though. Snurt going onto the Reinhardt. We'll see if that gets them an edge over Darkardus on the...
And they're going to need an edge here. There's 30 seconds left on the clock. This could be the last fight of this particular match. This last fight of this particular series. But Henke gets the early pick onto Carter's there. They've got a 6v5 advantage. They're looking to use that. They're pushing onto the point, and here we see the patience from Eminence. They're happy to back off, maybe give up 1 or 2 ticks here, just buying time for their teammate to get back. Hopefully find a few picks for themselves to finish this up. However, Rejects are not letting them do that. They're pushing forward. They're getting aggressive. They're getting the staggers here. And now Eminence is just going to want to regroup for that second point. Defend.
And that all started with a really big positioning mistake from Darkardus there on the Winston. Rejects, as soon as they realized that Winston was all on their lonesome off to the side, they tracked them down, sped up, and took them right out of the equation. And then without that main tank, you can't engage those team fights as easily. So really nice stuff from Rejects responding to that positional error. Coming back into this, Eminence Esports, they are going to have a couple ultimates to keep holding, and there's only 10 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, if they want to steal this second point, they've got to go now. They get onto point. Tricky self-destruct finds Vortex. It's the 6v5. We see both Transcendences on point. Both teams with the sustain here. We've got the rally coming up, but oh my gosh, the Shatter comes out from Snurt. But I think he's pinned to the wall himself. All the picks, though, seem to be going in favor of Rejects. They could win out here, but it is overtime. So this is going to be down to Eminence to get back, to win first point, win second point with time left on the clock.
So the Zarya is going to try and touch. I don't know if it's going to be enough. It's not. The grab comes out, and there you go. It looks like Rejects did complete the map. They're going to give a little more life to this attack, to their run here on Volskaya. But there's nothing left in the time bank. And again, Eminence have so much time. 5 minutes, 29 seconds. But, you know, Rejects, I think that Snurt going onto the Reinhardt really gave them an advantage. They had just a small amount of ultimate percentage ahead of Darkardus because they started on the Winston and then had to switch onto the Rhine later on. That little 20% difference that it ended up being in that team fight gave them the edge. Snurt was able to get that shatter off, and really the snowball happened as a result from there. So really nice stuff from Rejects, making the best use they could out of that minute and 34 seconds that they started with.
Yeah, that was really impressive. I'm sure Rejects would have preferred that to be their first round because that would have bought them a lot of time here. And they're obviously in overtime, so they're going to need to either hold first point or hold second for a long time if they want to win out here. Because if Eminence managed to push through to second point with time left on the clock, they're going to be able to go again here. So it's going to be interesting to see how Eminence approach this.
Right, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some more scouting. It does look like Rejects, they're running that triple tank, triple support. Snurt on the Winston. Eminence Esports, they are just going straight out the gates with the triple tank, triple support. Darkardus on the Reinhardt this time around. So it worked out for Rejects last time that they started with the Reinhardt. But I think that we're going to see an early rotation onto the high ground for Eminence Esports. Just trying to get a positional advantage, make it harder for Rejects to really get into their backline.
They're going to just go down the stairs here, just go straight on to point. They're happy to take the brawl here. Both sides playing patiently. No one wanting to lose a teammate early on here. They're both happy to let this fight draw out. There's 4.5 minutes left on the clock, so a lot of time here. But the wrong name gets the boot there onto Black Frost. Elfals as well. Eminence got to be happy with that. They're going to be attacking second point with a lot of time left in the back.
That was a really nice rotation from Eminence, because by going down that way, they got that position by the Mega Health Pack. And so if anything goes wrong, they can retreat a little bit, get that Mega Health Pack. And Ruby was basically untouched on the Zenyatta there. No one was really giving them any problems. So now, with 4 minutes and 43 seconds to work with, Eminence are going to be pushing ahead, and they have a Shatter.
Oh, it doesn't connect though, and Dakota falls to the orbs of Henki that went straight into his face there, and Eminence having to back off. The Rejects don't want to let them hit. They want to get the staggers. They want to buy some time.
Wow, what a response from Rejects. Eminence, they really wanted to get in there, get in the face of Rejects, but Rejects weren't having it, so now they've bought themselves a little bit of time. Henki is going to have a Transcendence. Tricky is coming up on bomb as well, but you know, on the other side, Eminence, they have that Grav Diva Bomb combo that has proved very effective. They have so many ultimates online. This could get really ugly for Rejects if they don't play this well.
Well, they've got to be thinking about those ultimates, and we see the self-destruct comes out. Takata's falls to it as well. It's a 6v5, and look at this. Rejects getting aggressive again. I love to see this. They're doing exactly what Eminence did on the defense first time round.
Really great stuff from Rejects. They really only use 2 ultimates to win that fight, the rally and the bomb. And, you know, by snowballing it off of that initial pick, again, it's really hard for the defending team to get in there when you lose somebody. So, you know, making good use of the small amount of ultimates that Rejects had is going to give them a slight advantage. But Eminence Esports, again, look at this. 5 ultimates on the board. It's going to get really ugly here, but Black Frost does have a grab.
And it's come out as well, but it is denied. It is eaten. That could prove pivotal here. And the attack now coming in from Eminence, and Vestola's bomb finds L here. However, we do see the Transcendence from Henki keeping the rest of Rejects alive, but we see a counter Transcendence come out from Ruby. Ruby waiting until the other Transcendence was done so that the rest of Eminence have this advantage. They're looking to take this game right here, right now, with the 3-0. They're getting all the picks here, and now we might see a last-minute contest coming out from Rejects. They're gonna need to do so. They want to stay in this game. They've given away 2 ticks already. Can they get in at the last minute? Oh, we see the charge, but the shatter coming out from Dakata's looking to finish this up early. We also see the sound barrier come out on the attacking side. They've got a lot of sustain here. They're getting the kills. As I say that, though, Engamore manages to kill. Dakata's falls to Ruby, though, and the rest of Rejects are coming back onto this point. They do have the spawn advantage here, but they're going to need to keep someone on this point, because look at that percentage meter. We see the self-destruct come out, and they have finished this off right here. And wow, that was a pretty crazy push.
It was, but it really nice focus fire from Eminence Esports. They took out ELE on the Lucio, and they took them out right before they threw out the grab, and ELE was very close to their sound barrier. If they were alive, I have no doubt that they would have been able to get that last 6%, use that sound barrier, keep their team alive through the grab. But because of the focus fire, because they took out the Lucio, they really had nothing to Rejects really had nothing to defend themselves through that Graviton surge, and so Eminence were able to snowball that out. So again, really nice stuff from Eminence Esports. Their focus fire, I know that the analyst desk mentioned that when we were in halftime. That's really coming into play here on Volskaya. So now Rejects, the pressure is on if they want to keep their hopes alive here in the series, because you know, they have 2 minutes and 16 seconds that they need to defend this first point. They are going to be running triple tank, triple support, and this time Snert is starting off on the Reinhardt instead of the...
And we see Vortex again going to scout out, because Eminence really, if they're going to do the scouting especially, they're not going to have time to switch heroes, because it means they're going to give up any ultimate advantage that they may have. So they're going to have to stick with whatever composition they think is best to attack this point, and they've got 2 minutes to do it. So I'm pretty excited here. They only need 1 tick, but Rejects might be able to do this.
So yeah, we're going to see Vortex get back out, probably change off onto a Zarya. Or, oh, no, it looks like they are going to run with that quad or triple DPS that we saw before. It looks like it's going to be triple, double main support Darkardus on the Wrecking Ball. So I like this. They are responding to the Ghost composition that they are seeing right now, and Wrecking Ball's getting onto the high ground, kind of making Rejects uncomfortable, having to look in different directions.
Oh, and look at this. Henki falls early to Vortex. Vortex flanked all the way around, found Henki, got the support. And I think we're going to see a change from Henki. He's going to have to come back here, but it might be too little, too late. Look at this. Wrong name getting the res onto Vestola there. Deo getting a couple of picks here as well. And Eminence just happy to play this patient, play from range, get some more picks, build up their ultimates. They know that this is in their favor at the moment. And Snurt just trying to stay alive here, keeping the shield up. And yes, we see the change from Henki. Henki is back on that Moira, pumping out the healing, but too little too late for Black Frost, who has fallen to the Dynamite of Vestola. And now we see the barrage coming out from Dio. Doesn't manage to get much, but manages to pick off L after using that barrage here. And this is just stalling here from Rejects. I can't believe they bring it up. Oh my gosh! That grenade from Ruby could have just finished his fight there. Purpling 2 members of the Rejects, and there's only 2 of them left on point. Henki is alone here. Black Frost just getting back on this Tracer, as Snurt gets back as well on the Wrecking Ball. There's the EMP, just looking to try and win out here, but look at that percentage ticker. It is 33%. Eminence have done it, and wow. That was a showing. I love the hero switches there.
Wow, what a game. This was so much fun to watch. Again, the mind games came in so clutch. We're going to see a play of the game here from Black Frost on the Zarya. Probably a nice grab, no doubt. Or maybe not. But again, really nice stuff from both these teams. I do believe that, when it comes to mechanical skill, I believe these teams are pretty even. But Eminence Esports, they just understand the meta so well right now. They realize that, yes, it is a triple tank, triple support heavy meta, but there are openings for some creativity and hero swaps to run those, triple DPS sort of compositions. So I think that having that compositional edge is really what allowed Eminence to take this all the way. Because you saw on Busan, it was a really close contest. That's where mechanical skill can come in a little more into play. But as soon as we saw different map types, and you saw room for teams to make those comp switches throughout the map, that's where you saw Eminence Esports really getting an edge here.
Yeah, they had such a good showing here. They played everything just a little bit better coordination wise. As you say, I think both teams mechanically very on par with each other. But talking about people who understand the meta, there's some guys on our desk that I think understand the meta, and they're going to be wanting to break this down for you guys at home. So Trenok and the guys, take us away.
I wouldn't say understand the meta so much as just push W and hold a shield up and hope for the best, just like our boy Dark did. Let's look at Volskaya though. Rejects had a great moment, a great snowball moment, and Panda, I believe you called it out that the snowball was on. He had that self-destruct ready to go and used it quite well. What happened in that situation?
Yeah, Rejects, they really enjoyed Volskaya so well that they also enjoyed the winter season. They wanted to build a snowball, and that snowball was built around a self-destruct. The self-destruct came through, and it found the most key pick possible. It actually found Vortex on the point B attack, was about to have the Graviton Surge. It allowed Henki to use the Transcendence aggressively to solidify their position on the point and to take down the raid boss of Dio. And that was really how Rejects set forth, looking so dominant. I mean, Zark said it beautifully on the exit for the casters. I mean, pound for pound, these teams are mechanically the same. It just comes down to these little macro plays that you're seeing out of Team Eminence that they were able just to turn around at the last minute, even though it was an extra inning moment that they were able to get ahead.
Beat. What do you have to say about that? What do you have to say? Because you predicted that Rejects were going to actually win this. And credit to Panda called the runaway.
Yeah. I'll hold that L. Okay, I was wrong, but hey, basically my idea was very much like everybody said so far. Mechanically, both teams were evenly matched, but the experience, the strategies were in Eminence's favor, despite some slip-ups from Eminence here and there. Like we've been saying the whole time, the punish isn't quite there from the rejects. And I guess that kind of thing comes with time, practice, building a deeper playbook, as Panda said earlier, behind the scenes, because we noticed that on their second attack on Volskaya, they basically went for the exact same strat again. And this time around, rejects played their defense expecting it. So that means when you do stuff like that, when you're in the overtime rounds, you can't just play the same strat. It's probably better if you swap to the GOAT, swap to a more reliable comp, or just do something different. Because chances are the defending team is going to be playing, a strat counter to what you were playing before, because they were kind of expecting it. So that's a good way to catch them off their toes. Although in general, it did end up working for rejects somewhat.
We saw those rinse and repeat tactics too from both these teams, right? So when we witnessed Eminence, they rolled out back on the monkey goats for their second point, their second attack to get that last tick, or the third attack rather, to get that last tick to win the map. But the way that they approached it, we were really taken by it, more or less. They went through the traditional Cloud9 strategy when they went up to the stairs and they went around to the mega pack, but instead of standing on the high ground, they actually went under, as if you were going back to when Sombra was played every single Volskaya map and taking over that mega pack area. We started to see rejects starting to punish Eminence for a few positionings a couple rounds ago, aka when Dark was on the Reinhardt, getting a little bit over advantageous with his Earth Shatters. He was Discord, he was 100 HP, he got obliterated. But they were never really, I suppose they were never really consistent on punishing them, like you were saying, Beats. So when you're going forward with those tactics, you want to be able to attack it from a multitude of angles, which I know sounds very foreheadish considering that it's triple DPS, and that's pretty much what it's supposed to do, attacking it from all angles, but you need to approach it in a different manner.
Let's talk about that strategy of going below instead of going up the stairs and approaching that first point of Volskaya. And Panda, you were talking about the corner that Rejects was holding wasn't quite the right corner or the right angle that they should have been playing at.
Right. So Rejects were playing a more or less of a dive defense, right? They had the monkey goats as a defense there, and you either need shielding or you need terrain. And where they were holding over on, if you're facing the choke point of Volskaya Industries of point B defense, they were holding on the right-hand side of the mini pack. And there's a lot of open space there. More or less, there's a lot of open space for Vortex, I believe, was the Widowmaker at the time, just laying in the shots. I mean, like, I've heard yesterday on Contenders, and I'm going to repeat it here too, a lot of these DPS players have been locked up in tank jail, and they've been inching and nibbling at the bits of the ankles just to get onto these DPS heroes, and we get to see it from Vortex. I mean, when he is given that space and rejects aren't playing the proper corner, he's going to land those shots. You need to play either through the mega pack area and reclaim the area that Eminence were pushing through, or you need to play over in the back left corner of the of point A, because there's more terrain. You have more coverage. And when Winston doesn't have his bubble cooldown available or his leap, he's pretty much just he's not a monkey, I'm sorry, he's a scientist, but he's just sitting there nevertheless, and that's a lot of ult charge.
Yeah, it definitely got a lot of out charge. But one of the things I did like about the final moments for Rejects was Snurt was getting a lot more aggressive. He seemed a little less timid, wasn't as scared. But just switching from their quad DPS composition to the Goatsy composition, they seemed a little bit more hesitant. Beat, why do you think that is?
Well, I think partially, like, quad DPS in general, yeah, it's good that they swap right away, because it's really hard to win point B off stuff like that unless you build a lot of early ult charge. I think part of the issue is that, you're not as mobile, I guess, because when you're running the two snipers, they have a lot of movement. The Pharah's up in the sky. I guess maybe because, you're heavier, you can't move as much when you're running the Ghost comp. They're kind of worried about making the wrong mistake because it's harder to disengage. And I think that just plays into their overall timidness in general. But even then, on the Ghost comp, you'd see Rejects would take advantage occasionally, like when they'd be a man up. Oh man, Snurt was like a man reborn. There's a switch flipped off on this guy, and he was just swinging away. And we just need more from that in them in general, because when you're playing the Goats comp, again, Panda behind the scenes mentioning how it's basically a Rhine battle, and the Rhine who backs down often loses.
Okay, final thoughts here. Eminence 7-0, so they're looking fun, they're looking high, they're going into the next match, quite a good position. As for Rejects, now their first loss, now they're sitting on a 6-1, lost their first game of the match. How do they approach the next game, Panda?
Well, Beatdown highlighted it wonderfully. When it comes down to these goats v goats matchups, which you're probably going to be seeing in the future, I'd hate to tell you, Rejects, and those sitting at home, I know you love the goats comp, don't you? But with Rejects going forward, you need that out of start. You can't back down out of the fight. What a goats composition essentially is, it's just a super frontline composition. And what that is housed around on your president of the comp is your main tank. And when you have a main tank that is more hesitant in terms of a team fight and unwilling to, like we were saying, hold down that W key in M1, that's when a team starts to look a little bit more dire. And Eminence were pushing Rejects forward off of that. But when we started getting towards the tail end of Volsky Industries, Rejects really found their own, almost as if they got super angry in a way. And we want to see more of that because you have to play aggressive. You have to take the first initialization of the fight and get the upper hand of the cooldown management. And I could see Rejects pulling forward, and we'll see them again in playoffs.
So less sprinting and yelling tranquility from
Absolutely.
the man on Zenyatta.
Oh, yeah.
Heck yes, trends.
Yeah. Beatdown, final thoughts from you on Rejects and Eminence?
I think Panda said it really well himself. Now that Eminence is going 7-0, it makes it that much easier for them to lock up the playoff spot. From what we've seen of them, I'm expecting that to keep up. Honestly, I think Rejects still are in the game here. 7-1 is not impossible to come back from, but they just got to work on the coordination, the focused fire, because I believe a lot of their lack of punish is because of that, because they're not all focusing the same person. Because Zarya comes to your back line, and all your crosshairs are pointed at her, she's dead. So I just need to see more of that. And hey, they got a shot.
Well, let's see what they bring out in the next few games, what they bring out when they get to playoffs. Undoubtedly are going to make that. Thank you, everyone, for watching this matchup between Eminence and Rejects from BGG, for hosting the stream and providing all these amazing stream assets. You guys should check us out. We're a community of broadcasters and shoutcasters and hosts, analysts, all fun people who love esports, and we're just trying to get out there and exposure for everyone. So check us out. Check out Broadcast GG. There's links everywhere. And thank you to Panda and Beatdown for being amazing analysts, Spaceman, Zark, the casters who kept you entertained throughout that game. Everyone, we will see you again in roughly an hour for Eminence Academy taking on, I forgot that team's name, and that's Team Quick Start Red. That is the one. And we'll see you guys again then.